Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptized by Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptized by Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest. If you don't know who this guy right here is, you should already know who he is. He's one of the best in the business. You've seen him on TikTok. You've seen him worldwide. And what can I say about this guy? Actor, comedian, entertainer, content creator. We have Dorian Gayle in the building with us. How you doing, my friend?
Greetings. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good, Justin. I'm excited to be here, man. Really excited.
Yeah, man. I've seen your work throughout the years. You've been doing a lot of great things. But just to kind of dive into it, what have you been up to these days? You know, what's been going on right now in your world?
Well, the world's been shut down for a couple of days, and I just been putting in the work in terms of sketches and creating online content, which is the most accessible at this time. So, you know, it might be during times where people need a laugh or they need something just to boost their day. And that's where I come into play. It's my job.
Now, for you, you know, you had a passion for Pop Warner football at the age of 16.
That's correct.
Obviously, you know, that wasn't fulfilled, but you had a chance to play football. Kind of talk about that and to where that was started to your shift to what you're well known as in the comedy world.
So I love athletics. I love sports. I always felt slighted a little bit, and maybe I wasn't the most naturally gifted. You know, I always felt like I was hardworking. I ran laps. I put in effort where effort wasn't there. I might not have been naturally skilled like some of the football players, basketball players, soccer players, and baseball players, but I always felt like I gave effort and I worked hard. And I didn't get the standout reception from the teammates and coaches that I thought I deserved. So I would work harder, but it didn't feel like I was in the spotlight amongst all these other people on this team or the teams that I was on. So me wanting to do something where you stand on stage by yourself and there's nobody but you, it makes sense. It makes sense. And when I was 16, I kind of felt like that was the right time to pursue something that was more fulfilling, that I could be a standout alone person and someone could notice my growth as a person, my growth as an entertainer, and my overall character development. I felt like it was more rewarding for someone to look directly at me and say, oh, wow, that's Dorian Gayle. Not that's Dorian Gayle and that's number 7 and that's number 12, you know?
Now, you started in football. You later shifted to comedy. Where have you seen your growth and your development?
Oh, man, I'll tell you. Comedy, I would say it has been a learning experience. My 20s, you know, I got this joke where I say, you know, in my 20s, I struggled with 2 things, which was grief and heartbreak. All right. And I'm better at grieving than I am at heartbreak. Because, like, my loved ones, when they passed away, I utilized the lives that they lived as inspiration because I'm good at grieving. But the girlfriends who broke my heart, I wanted them to die so I could grieve. I really struggle with that. You know what I'm saying? It's a toss up of 2 worlds. You know what I'm saying? And that was character development. I'm 29. I've been through grief, heartbreak, self-evaluation, and the learning experience is what's funny about it. When you come out of it, it's funny. When you're going through it, it's not funny at all. So I think learned experiences throughout my 20s, particularly grief, heartbreak, growth as an adulting, those things have taught me to find the funny in those experiences.
Knowing that you've got all the experiences and knowing that you've made it to a level of success in your career, is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your career?
Oh man, I wish I would have known about balance. Balance is very necessary as a human being, as a Homo sapien. Balance is important. At one time I was working two jobs and going to school. I was working two part-time jobs, going to school and trying to make a car payment at the same time. It was a very disorganized time in my life. I was going from one part-time job to another. It was a very temporary time, but it was one part-time job to another, and then I have to make car payments on this. And I don't know, I had a girlfriend at the time or something like that, but that was a, what I'm saying? That was a simulation for me. That was a cycle, you know, for a little bit of time. So balance is definitely important. I would tell people about balance, and I would say if you're pursuing entertainment, don't don't neglect your real life, um, just because this is what you want. Don't do that.
Now, speaking of your success in comedy, I definitely want to dive into that with you. You've done over 100 impressions. So
Yes.
tell us inside the process, when you decide to tackle a new voice, for example, Chris Rock, a Kevin Hart, are you just capturing just the sound? Are you studying the mannerisms, their cadence, and their soul? Break down to us just how you built an impression from the ground up.
So it's a lot of observation. Distinctive characteristics of a person is what makes them original and unique. So, for example, um, Chris Rock walks around. Sometimes he tells a joke, he might twist his fingers a little bit. He has a good smile. He has a great smile. Can't believe, can't believe. So you can find a foundation or a point where you can start that gives you a practice point to work on that impression. Like when I did Ryan Reynolds, I would say, "Hi there, hi, 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 hi there, hi, hi." So like that's my starting point, and when I can hear that, I will say everything I can as closest to this voice that I can. Then if they have a catchphrase or some type of facial, mannerism that they do, you know, um, 50 Cent has a laugh. Hey, what's up, son? So little things like that is what makes someone stand out. It makes anybody stand out, which means we're pretty much all impressionable people. We make impressions. We just don't realize it. So to see someone that's a celebrity that's high up in a position, uh, you got to take notice of the little things that they do that makes them them. And that's how you'll get that impression. It's not always about the voice. Sometimes it's about the mannerisms, the facial expressions, the body language. And that's how you can build. You can do a good impression that doesn't sound like anyone. But those little small things, that builds the character of a person.
You talk about your success in over 100 impressions. Are there any new ones that you're working on right now? Any of them that we should be aware of that you're coming up with?
Oh man, I am I so earlier I was thinking of Whoopi Goldberg, but I don't have that voice yet. There's a couple, man. A lot of the new rappers I haven't been able to capture their voice. I'm learning. I listen to music sometimes to help me, you know, visualize, and my ear registers something that's very important. So the more I can listen to that person, it like implanted in my brain, you know. So, but let's see, anything that's new, really, anything that's new. When I started doing Steve Urkel, I didn't know that anyone didn't have a Steve Urkel. Hi, Laura, did I do that? So I would just try to find ones that no one was famous for doing and do those ones. That's what I would do.
Impressive. Very impressive. I've always been a big fan of your work, so it's
Thank you.
cool. It's pretty cool. Let's talk about your breakout. 2022. You found yourself on the BET Awards red
Oh
carpet,
man.
the legendary Miss Pat. Everybody
Yeah.
was Miss Pat. Um, you
Oh man.
you did a Chris Rock impression. What was going through your mind before you went live, and what was the most surreal part of that entire experience?
I was nervous, and that's good. Comedians don't Sometimes comedians don't tell you that they like something. She didn't. She liked it because I can tell. I've been around comedians, but she can't say it on camera. You know what I'm saying? She had to proceed with what she was doing. She can't say it on camera. It was a funny moment. I just laughed it off. It's like, what type of Chris Rock was that? Keep in mind, this is 2022. The Oscar situation just happened earlier in the year, so that's why I'm even more nervous that I'm on these people's paid time on this red carpet. I didn't want to say anything that would, make me look bad or offend the viewership or whatever was happening in the process, because we didn't know that was going to air. We had no idea Miss Pat was doing some reels and TV footage for the pre-show that was going to have them air live next day. So I went over there, me and shouts out to Chris Bivens, by the way, great producer, great, Bivens agency. Shouts out to Chris Bivens and shout out to Shelly Bivens. That's his mother. They are great entertainment producers, man. They produce great entertainment. They had a big role in me getting to LA. But he was next to me, and then another guy named Terrell Wade Empire, on Instagram. We were all just standing there, trying to figure out where Mr. Carr was at. Mr. Lewis Carr. He was a president of media sales. Legendary name in terms of TV history. Well, he was getting off his golf court because they're not walking, they're just taking it easy. The big day is Sunday. This was Saturday, and it's Saturday morning. So Miss Pat is doing her. They got producers filming and everything, and I'm just standing here, and I'm like, and then the camera catches me try and do something, and then I come, no, I got a Chris Rock impression. I go and I do the Chris Rock. She was like, what was that? So I just laughed it off because I thought it was a funny little prank and whatnot, and it's a cool moment. I didn't take it no wrong. It was a nice moment. I'm glad they mentioned that when they put that on the article that came out later.
I mean, you've done a lot of great work in BET, Burger King, and so much more. Just knowing that you've had that experience, to be on the BET red carpet and to have those advertisements and campaigns and things like that, how much does that say about not only just your hard work, but to be like, okay, I'm gonna elevate my level and I'm gonna really continue to push it because something's obviously working for me to be this successful so far.
Man, it is a blessing. I pray a lot. I did pray a lot back then. I'm getting back on the prayer schedule now, but I pray a lot. I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. I do my best to associate with good character people. So those things are necessary. Being a good person, not just a good entertainer. Sometimes, someone might say, "Oh, why are they doing this?" And they're getting this and this. It might be their character. It might be what's in the inside. The way that I was able to get to these platforms was a good, it was contributed to my character. If I didn't have the right type of character, I might not have made it that far. I might not still making it. I'm still making it in other ways that I can't talk about yet, but I might not have made it to that point if I didn't have character. The first time you mentioned the Burger King commercial. So the Burger King commercial, it came about due to a conversation. Mr. Chris Bivens, that I mentioned earlier, he got in my comment and commented in my DMs. Sent me a DM. He said, "Hey, I'm a producer. We like to make, social media, entrepreneurs and see if they want to go down the line of television, movie shows. We develop them and help them get to their goals where they want to be." I said, "Cool." We talked for like 2 weeks. He gets a phone call. He says, "Hey, Dorian, we're filming a commercial for the season finale of the Miss Pat show that airs on BET. Would you like to be a part of this Burger King advertisement? Because the commercial is brought to you by Burger King." I said, yes. Drove up. As soon as I got there, did my COVID test because it took place during COVID. And, Chris, he sounded real tall on the phone, but I was taller than him. So that was that was surprising. But when we got to this lovely Airbnb, there was a group of other entertainers, other content creators. We all got in a circle, and Chris started speaking. He said, "My name's Chris Bivens, and we're all here. Before we get started, this young man from Palm Bay, Florida, he's just dogging me out, but I know it's comedy. He's like, he's broke. He has no money. He drove 700 miles to be here. And what would Chris Rock say?" And I said, "I can't believe I'm here for the Burger King commercial. I'm about to have it my way." And there's like people laughing and clapping all over it, but it's a fact that he took the time out to give me that spotlight opportunity before he did anything else is what helped me build a good relationship with, and it's really important to build relationships with someone like Chris Bivens. That helped, and I'm gonna tell you, I was partially in the commercial, but I was grateful. By the time I got back home and the commercial's getting ready to air, everybody's on FaceTime and Zoom because we were pretty excited. This commercial's about to air. We were a part of it. He called me, said, "Hey, Dorian, we may not have been able to get your face in the camera. So your face may not be on TV. I said, man, I'm good. He said, but your attitude, your gratitude, and your heart, your character, that's what's going to take you far. And that was in May of 2022. I kid you not. 3 weeks later, I'm at work. I'm putting up folded eggs and hot cakes. Right. He calls me. He says, "Hey, Dorian, my boss loves you. We're gonna fly you out to the BET Awards." I'm just playing. How are you doing? I'm like, what? Nah, man, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, you should probably clear your schedule. You're finna go to the BET Awards. So he didn't tell me what was able to get that done. But I remember what he said earlier. He said your character and your integrity and the things that are inside of you will help you get further in life. And BET Awards 2022 red carpet. It happened.
I mean, which has led to your success. I mean,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
so that just for anybody who's watching or sees this, yeah, it's important.
You've built a massive following on TikTok, but the entertainment industry often sees a divide between internet famous and industry respected. So my question to you is, how have you navigated the transition, and what has been the biggest challenge for you in proving that you're just not only a content creator, but a comedian and actor?
Well, if you're a content creator, you post content. But if you're a comedian and you're an actor, you post comedy and acting. And that is as simple as that. This is a platform, right? It's a platform. It's not a deter or a determination of what you are, but what you do, you will showcase. And actions tend to speak louder than words. So I post my stand-up clips. I try to get good footage, quality footage of my stand-up, quality footage of my acting and some of the commercials I've done. My IMDb has a lot of credits on there, and I'm working on building that up. I've done auditions. I'm going to be soon posting, audition reels and things of that sort to show people that this is what I am and this is what I do. The internet does tend to limit you to one thing, but you can use that one thing to break into a multitude of things. So I see it like that. If you are that, post that. Don't be afraid to post that. Don't hold on. There's a lot of comedians that like to hold on to where time is not. It's if you are a comedian, then you will continue to be a comedian. So this one joke isn't up here. You can't just tell this one joke. Tell that one joke and then write another one. Do that one movie and then do another movie. Don't let that be the pinnacle or the peak. Keep it going.
And when you mentioned about keeping it going, obviously, with your success on BET named you one of the top 12 TikTok influencers to follow. So yeah. How did you keep that? How do I put this? How did that kind of recognition from a major network like BET change the game for you, both not only in opportunities, but in terms of how you view your own career?
It gave me it almost gave me the leeway to build my online profile. Once they gave me that title, and keep in mind, I didn't have a manager or agent or pretty much any team, just friends and family, right? So once they gave me that, and the article came out in January of 2023, I told myself, I have the entire year to capitalize off of this because this title may not ever happen again. I went to my local radio stations. I went to my local magazines. I went to all the people I networked with in the community before, all of the reporters that I knew. I went to comedy shows to headline. I did other articles and the ones that weren't as big. I did, a 10-minute comedy special on Afrotainment. Shouts out to Afro TV that aired in February. I went to the Laughing Skull twice. I posted my other content because my face is on the BET page. So they're posting reels as I'm working on the project. But I made sure to build my entire online profile. When you Google Dorian Gayle, you'll see that. I did another independent film. I did another independent film. No one was going to jump out the woodworks and say, hey, Dorian, let's get you on this role. I had studied what others had done, and I did the most that I could within that time. They gave me this title. Ooh, you better take that and run with it. Take it and do the most you can, because you don't know if that opportunity is going to happen again. And I did as much. I got into my local magazines and I made sure everyone in my community knew about me. My following grew. I went viral several times and just put out a schedule of content. And I maximized, I squeezed as much as I could off of that one title and did what I could. I got more comedy footage. We shot my own independent comedy special that year. So that year of 2023, I made sure I made sure to really capitalize and show my gratitude by adding more onto what they told. They said I'm this. Wow, that's amazing. Now let me just go down the line the list and put more on top of that.
With your talent, voice acting seems like a natural next frontier for yourself and your career. Is that a goal? Or if so, would you say that there's a dream animated character or a franchise you're down to be a part of?
So I really like creating my own characters. Like I got a character named Cousin Michael. I got this cousin, not cousin. I have this character named Uncle Gayle. So these are all characters that based upon family members and people I grew up with in my neighborhood. So those are original characters. Like I used to do a character called Dorisha when I was in high school. I don't do it anymore, but I might actually bring it back. But I like original characters. I also love voice acting. I love voice acting. I would love to play in an animated series one day, God willing. I believe I can make it happen if I work hard enough. So those are the type of aspirations I have. I think cartoon characters are, the voice actors for cartoon characters are amazing. They're really amazing. So that's definitely in the line of success that I want to be down.
Okay. Right on, right on. As far as your content goes, it is constantly high energy and very creative. What does your content creation day, what does it look like? Give us some thoughts of what your content creation day looks like, from an ideal generation to filming, editing. Where do you find the discipline and how do you avoid creation burnout?
Oh man, sometimes you got to pull from within. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you like to do? What are your favorite things? Sometimes you got to pull from within. And sometimes you got to pull from what's happening in the world. Like I did the Jet 2 holiday and a couple of impressions, and it did pretty well on my Instagram page. And it allowed people to come back and then they went to go look at my stand-up. So I have stand-up, I have sketches I'm getting ready to put out. I have all different types of content creation, relatability, comedy. There's genres, there's different genres. It's like political humor, observational, topical, family, relationships, those are like almost different genres of comedy. And they each can be broken down and, sent to your audience in an entertaining way. So, but there's different levels to it. It doesn't always have to be what's trending. It could be what's you and how can you make that funny? How can you make that entertaining?
Now, for you and your comedy, I would say it's, very observational and character driven. How would you describe your unique point of view in comedy, and what specific themes or human behaviors are you mostly drawn to as far as making fun of?
So right now, I've been digging really deep into who I am, how I grew up, and how my family is. I'm very personable. I try not to use like real names, but I'm super personable. I talk about real things that actually happened. And the observational side is something I observe, and then I try to relate that back to me to give an original viewpoint on it. So if you sum up Dorian Gayle, I love characters, original characters, impressions. I love observational and the social political humor, and I love the personable humor. I'm not dirty. I don't cuss 17 million times on stage, but I say something that still crosses the line and makes you think, and then I can put my own spin on it by maybe doing the punchline in Kevin Hart, or Chris Rock, and Adam Sandler voice at the same time. So that would describe me. That's me in comedy. All right. I am personable, relatable, and characters for sure, and observational. Like, yeah, I like crossing the line without crossing it. I don't cross the line the way other comedians cross the line, but it definitely gets crossed for sure. We walk that tightrope.
I'm quite curious, for the 16-year-old kid today who is watching not only just your journey, but just your development and how you've grown throughout the years. What is one piece of hard-earned advice you wish someone had given you when you first started out?
Just keep going. This is not a overnight journey. This is not an overnight journey. Comedy, pursuing this is not an overnight journey. As you grow, your comedy will grow. If you stay the same, then you might find yourself stuck. If you decide not to grow, you might be finding that you're talking about the same things on stage. If you haven't, then you'll continue to evolve. Like, continue to evolve. Don't give up so easy. This is not an easy craft. To make someone laugh with a smile on their face, it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunity to not just to be able to do it, but to have people come up to me and say, "Hey, Dorian, I watched this and I was going through a time and this made me feel, it made me feel better." I get that now. Walking around my own city that I'm from, or when I travel as well. When I go to Virginia, I had my Uber driver say, "Man, your name is Dorian Gayle, right? You post on YouTube." And I don't have a huge YouTube following, but he's like, "Man, I seen you, dude. You do voices." I was amazed. So make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. That's one of the reasons why I do it. There's other aspects than just to go on stage, get paid, make people laugh, and go home. Purpose. Be purpose driven. I had to find that out later, when I hit some bumps in the road in life and I felt like I wanted to quit. I'm just glad I didn't. And I don't plan on it. And as an artist, even if you have to get 2 or 3 side jobs or go to school, just keep doing your craft, because you go to school, you get 2, 3 side jobs. Now you got material to talk about. So we got to look at it from a different perspective of, man, if I ain't did it, okay, well, that's the business part of it. Yeah, I understand. But also remember, this is your audience. They're following you because of you or something that you do, right? So make sure you deliver that as well. Not just on the business side of, if I don't get paid, I ain't da, but also on the quality side of giving something, a vulnerable piece of yourself that people want to know. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons is what I would tell myself.
And as far as getting you to the place that you're at right now, who are you mostly thankful for your career? And kind of tell us about what the future goals are. What could we be expecting from you?
Well, I'm grateful to God Almighty. I'm grateful for my mother and my father. I'm grateful for my best friend, because he really just motivated me to keep my head high when I was at some low places. He don't like having his name out there, but he know who he is. I'm grateful for, like I said, Chris Bivens, Shelly Bivens. I'm extremely grateful for the right people that were continuing to encourage me. I'm a regular. I don't look at myself as somebody. I'm a regular dude. I go to school. I go to, work. I'm a regular person, but I have dreams like everybody else, and I'm continuing to pursue them. I'll tell you, I heard something that was terrible the other day, and I asked the young lady. I won't say her name, but I asked the young lady. Well, I said, "Hey, are you still pursuing your passion? Are you still pursuing your dream?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, why not?" She said, "Well, I got bills, and I'm an adult now." And she said she wanted to become, I think she said she wanted to become an OBGYN. And I said, "Well, why aren't you like, figuring out how to study?" Or he said, "Well, I'm an adult now." And that bothered me so much, because here I am we're working the same place. and it bothered me. It bothered me. I didn't say nothing to her. I said, "Well, you should keep pursuing that." I said, yeah, you should keep pursuing that. And it just bothered me, because here I am. I go to work like everybody else. But yet when I get off work, man, this is what I like to do. And I put heart and soul into this. So, man, you got to have perspective. It's hard everywhere. You got to choose your heart. It's hard to, not lose weight, and it's hard to get in the gym. I'd rather get in the gym than sit there and not lose weight. We're all at this place on earth. We're here. Do something great with it. It's going to be obstacles. There's going to be challenges, but just continue, man. Just don't stop. That's a thing that's always been in my mind is just don't stop. You just never know. I'm grateful for people. Sometimes it's a bad reminder. Sometimes it's a good reminder, but I'm grateful for those reminders.
And as far as just your future goals, comedy, shows, what could we be expecting from you in the near future?
Man, I would love to go on tour for sure. I would love to go on tour. I would love to book a leading role in a feature film. I don't care where it's at. I want to book a leading role on a feature film. I want to put out my own independent short film. And I would love to have 1 million of a following on each Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. I would love to have 1 million of a following, my people, just people that like me for me on each platform. And, make a living doing this craft, be able to pay for certain things. I've seen a little bit of what it can do already. I've seen it. I've seen a little bit of what it can do already. So I'm just praying, keeping my faith in God and keep pursuing it. Keep working on me. The more I sharpen myself, I believe the better it's going to be. And I believe it's going to happen. And I'm grateful.
Well, I'm grateful to have you here, brother. I'm glad that we're able to get this interview, man. Keep doing your thing. Wish you all the best, man.
Thank you, Justin.
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So, until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.